nothing left to lose now.
Galak-Z wears its heart on its sleeve. The visual style, dialogue, music, and even the credits are evocative of classic 80s anime. What makes Galak-Z such a special game, and where many similar games falter, is that it's not content with simply being a tribute. It fuses its inspirations with carefully considered mechanics, creating something that's tense, exciting, and hard to put down. A large part of what makes Galak-Z so enticing is that it forces players to constantly test and reevaluate their limits. Split into 4 seasons, each with 5 missions, the game puts a lot at risk immediately. If you die during a mission, you reset to the start of the season, with all of your scrap, the game's currency, and acquired upgrades gone. Upgrades and scrap are lost at the start of the season as well. Nothing is more heartbreaking than making it to the last mission of the season, only to mess up in the final moments, losing everything you've worked so hard for. Lost health doesn't recover between missions either, so prepare to wince every time you take a hit. If you consider yourself someone that has a difficult time keeping their anger in check, Galak-Z may not be for you. Yet putting so much at stake is exactly what makes the game so gripping.
SOS! SOS! I was attacked by White Tusk and pinned in a cave behind an overreactive Imperial turret.
The only reprieve comes in the form of crash coins, which can drop from enemies. If you have 5 crash coins upon death, you'll return to the beginning of the mission instead of the start of the season. Crash coins are also cashed in at the start of a new season, used to get a head start on upgrades.
Requesting immediate assistance. White Tusk is gone from the sector. Don't worry about him. Probably.
The structure affects the moment-to-moment gameplay as well. On one hand, you need to explore the randomly generated levels as much as possible because finding upgrades and scrap is so important. Entering the final mission of a season under-equipped is practically suicide. On the other hand, the more time you spend in a mission, the more you put yourself in danger. Knowing when to retreat and when to stay and fight is crucial.
Out of my way!
Since upgrades are randomly decided for each mission, including what's in the shop, you're very much at the mercy of the game. Although it's fun experimenting with every available upgrade, heaps of scrap aren't easy to come by. While some may regard the randomness and strict punishment as tedious and frustrating, it's a bold decision. So many games make character progression feel empty, but since every choice matters in Galak-Z, each decision is filled with anxiety as you weigh the consequences.
Alright, watch the paint!
My shields are down!
Better luck next time.
Of course, progress would be meaningless if the game didn't feel good to play. Fortunately, it's so good that even if all of its roguelike trappings were absent, it'd still be worth considerable attention. Your ship starts with basic laser blasts, missiles, a booster, and the ability to dodge and strafe. The dodge is particularly enjoyable since your ship leaps into the foreground, and it's useful for jumping over enemy fire and charging foes. Mastering all of the systems leads to dazzling moments like hopping over a lunging alien, stuffing its face full of missiles, and then boosting behind some wreckage, utilizing it as cover from Imperial lasers. Even the environment is useful against enemies. Strange plants can knock out enemy shields, and balls of lava can destroy entire ships.
And that's mine. Shields down!
In Season 2, players get access to the mech, which doesn't act like a second vehicle, but instead is a transformation of the base ship that can be activated at any time. The mech adds an entirely new dynamic to the game. Its laser sword can be used for close-range attacks and can even reflect enemy lasers. A retractable shield replaces the dodge, and while it isn't quite as versatile, it's easier to use and is perfect for when you're trying to close the gap.
Engaging! Stop right now!
Taking Imperial fire!
The mech requires an admirable amount of fearlessness. Although you can reliably hang back and blast away in the ship, the mech offers no such recourse. You either charge in and slash away, or play defensively and wait for the perfect moment to strike. Both approaches rely on a sort of do-or-die mentality that's both thrilling and terrifying, especially if you're low on life. At first, many will probably stick to either the ship or the mech, whichever they're more comfortable with. But those that put in the effort to utilize both will feel like they're the hero in some crazy anime space opera. Even though the mech and ship are great by themselves, it's the upgrades that really make the firefights come to life. Being able to bounce lasers off the wall or set enemies on fire can easily make encounters that were previously insurmountable feel like tiny scuffles. It's a little frustrating that you lose all of your upgrades between seasons, but the progression is so empowering and satisfying that having to do it repeatedly isn't especially aggravating.
You made it back. I can't believe it. You killed at least.
I have a plan. Fight the Imperials, strike at their heart.
ATAC, you're the only pilot left.
What?
Despite the structure and gameplay of Galak-Z being uniformly excellent, the story is completely thrown together. You control ATAC, who's basically the last hope humanity has against the nasty creatures and villains of space. Encounters with other characters are underdeveloped, to say the least. Aside from some mildly entertaining banter, there's very little substance in conversations. Narrative clearly isn't the top priority for Galak-Z, but since there is an effort made before, during, and after missions, it would have been nice if it wasn't so nakedly thin.
Oh, gross!
The comments ATAC makes for every single action also quickly become grating. It's amusing the first time he complains about alien guts getting on his ship, but it's far less entertaining when you've heard it for what feels like the 100th time. The same is true of enemies who spout the same phrases repeatedly. While it's definitely useful when they exclaim their shields are down, other remarks, like taunts, get tiresome.
Dude, we're gonna fly! Ha-ha! See ya! Yes! No shields!
The biggest issues plaguing Galak-Z, however, are technical ones. We often experienced severe framerate hitches as well as instances of dialogue getting cut off and other audio mishaps. Nothing was worse than when the game crashed during a mission, kicking us to the PlayStation home screen with our progress for the season completely lost.
That's bad news.
Yet our drive to keep playing hadn't dampened, even after such a devastating moment.
That's good news.
Sure, Galak-Z may be rough around the edges, but the core of it is so good that it's easy to recommend regardless. It's a game of ecstatic moments where you'll kill a boss with only a sliver of life, or dodge a barrage of lasers at the very last second. Galak-Z may not have the highest production values, but it's one of the most energizing games we've played on the PS4 this year.